How this project came about was in my involvement with the Mayor's Bicycling Advisory Committee that was started back during Linda Lingle's first administration. She had put together a committee, Citizens Advisory Committee, strictly on bicycling, and I had joined that committee in 1991, about a year after they had gotten started. And it was that group that created this whole project, and it was actually brought forward by Bob Kiger. Anybody who remembers Cruiser Bob Kiger, and one of the originators of the downhill tour industry, is that he proposed this type of project to the advisory committee as a way of recreating the King's Trail for modern times. Anybody familiar with Hawaiian history knew that the King's Trail followed the coastline, and it was their highway for transportation for them to get from village to village, community to community. And so he envisioned something of a recreation, a modern recreation that would be for bicyclists, pedestrian, kids, families to use, so that they could go from Paia, ideally to Kahului, and it was even envisioned to go up into Iao Valley, out to Waihee. There were a lot grander plans at that time to really run with this idea, because again, for a lot of people who didn't have access to recreational facilities, this would provide not only a great way where people could walk or run or jog between the communities along our beautiful North Shore, but could also get exercise, could use it for transportation purposes. And so the committee really embraced that. At the time, Elizabeth Russell, Dave Blaine, Earl Stoner were the chair people of that committee, and within the committee, Ray Matassi, Dr. Ray Glauser, Duke Sevilla, Joe Bertram, Rory Frampton, any number of people who sat on the committee supported the project and really worked to develop that through the advisory committee in the early 90s, and with the support of both the administration and the council at the time, it worked out really good that we were able to access federal ICE-T funding, which is the Intermodal Surface Transportation Efficiency Act. And those funds, that particular federal highways funding mechanism started in the early 90s, right about the time as this project was being developed. So that helped with the funding, as well as really, it was a kind of a milestone in the sense that the feds have actually put money toward alternative transportation, such as bicycling and pedestrian related things. So it was a project that was really developed and pushed through the advisory committee up until the end of Linda's administration. With the Apana administration, there are definitely some changes there where the advisory committee was no longer a active group within the county. And a little while after that, the Maui Bicycle Alliance was formed as a grassroots advocacy organization to try to help promote and keep that alive from about that was about 2000. 1999, 2000, we got started in working on that and trying to keep it within the perspective of the county, or at least on their radar, that there are still people out there who supported these projects. And so right now we're about 3/4 of the way done. We're going to keep going until we see this last section done, because it's about time. We're actually, that was almost closing in on 20 years now, so it's time to finish it. And I think, once we do finish it and people see the value of it, like they've seen the value of the Mokulele bike path that was done on the state highways, on Mokulele Highway when they redid that project, is that people are beginning to realize, hey, this is a great amenity not only to the community, but to visitors, to everybody. And so we just need to move forward and make this happen. It was great that the Lingle administration and the current administration have really stepped up and said, no, we're going to make this happen in terms of the funding. There were, initially some community concerns, as well as the first section that went behind the airport and through the Stable Road area, as well as through Kaunoa. There were some concerns because some of that area was accessed by people who accessed it for fishing, for camping, and other things. There was discussion and some concerns of whether or not that would increase increase problems in terms of security or other kinds of negative impacts that were voiced throughout the early stages of that. With the airports, it was one where how was our path going to integrate with their functions and what they needed to do in terms of security. But for the most part, after the path, that section of the path from the Kaunoa Senior Center out to Kanaha Beach Park at the end of Amala Place, it's been relatively trouble-free. Every now and then we've had motorcyclists accessing the path, and that's not always a good thing to have people on high-speed vehicles mixing with pedestrians and runners and walkers and cyclists. A long time ago, some cars would try to get on, but the county, and again, I have to applaud Dave Good and the Public Works people over the years that they've done a good job of maintaining it and trying to keep motor vehicle traffic off of that, which has again made it a lot safer for people to access. Concerns about safety, we've never heard of any issues in terms of anybody being attacked or any problems. I know some of the seniors from Kaunoa use the path for exercise, and they go out and walk the path and watch the airplanes take off and come back. And so it's really became a nice amenity for a number of people who live either in Kahului or in Paia who go use that to go to work. It's been a big blessing for them because the only other option was to ride on Hana Highway, which adds about 3 to 4 miles to their round trip. If you live in Paia and you rode into town, you could cut through behind on the bike path and be in town sometimes quicker than what cars could do if the traffic was bad. So there are definitely transportation advantages also to that. But we really haven't seen too much in the way of real long-term problems that have come up. Again, the Public Works Department has been great about maintaining it. Members within the Maui Bicycle Alliance, we've come out and helped trim some of it or sweep or, be eyes and ears and make sure that everything is operating okay. We've worked with Marvin Moniz in the airports, current airports administrator, and he's assisted, in some areas where it was either on their property or near the bike path. They've been really supportive and helpful. So, a lot of what had been voiced as fear or, the unknowns about having this have really kind of melted away over the years. It hasn't increased crime, it hasn't decreased property value. I think everybody who's utilized it sees the benefit of it, but until you actually get it built, a lot of people might be reacting from a fear of something that's a little different or unknown. But already the section between Paia and Baldwin Beach Park, a lot of people are using that. And it's made it easier for them to, and much safer for them to go from Paia to Baldwin Beach Park, which is a hugely popular beach destination here, and to go back and forth away from the traffic, away from moving vehicles in a safe way. I think, in order to finish this last phase of the NorthShore Greenway, we have been working with both state highways, the county, and others, because it has been and kind of the trickiest section for us to complete. The original routing of the NorthShore Greenway was going to go on the Makai side of the Maui Country Club here, right behind me, and that had its own technical issues that had to be worked around, and some of that was going to be somewhat problematic. You're in a shoreline area. There's definitely weather and wave and storm potential issues, as well as safety considerations and maintenance and some of those issues. But the current alignment, as I understand, and what we've been working on, is looking at a route paralleling Hana Highway, and so. Again, that's a state highway, so we have to coordinate with the state highways folks as well as the county. And hopefully, again, we can create a path that, again, will still help feel safe for those people who are going to be accessing this NorthShore Greenway. And again, provide the benefits of either transportation or health or fitness so that they can participate in these activities without the fear of having to be so close to traffic. Which is, again, one of the major fears that people new to cycling have, is that they're not going to feel comfortable riding in traffic. So this provides a way for them to gain the physical skills, the street skills, in order to handle themselves in and around traffic. But it does so in a lot less intense environment. Many people who learn on bike paths slowly adapt to riding on the road in different situations and become better cyclists as their street skills and their physical skills improve. So it is definitely something that we are going to be pushing forward with. Ideally, if one day, maybe a decade or two from now, if we can find another way to route a Mackay alignment, that would be great too. But I think once we get it done and it's a complete path, people will really begin to understand what vision we had, many of us had 15, 20 years ago to make this project happen. And again, one of the other things is, you know, we got to catch up with Kauai, because Kauai's been doing a lot of these along their eastern shoreline, and I think they have about 8 miles now of separate bike and pedestrian pathways along their east coastline. And that's becoming a real popular amenity for both the resident population and the visitor population. So again, I think if we can step up and finish this and start looking at the next one, the Kihei Greenway, and then maybe the Pali-to-Puamana Greenway, and that would really make Maui even better than what it is today. Anyone would like to support this effort, we'd be glad to have it. You can email me at bikeguy@hawaiiantel.net, and we'll get you on our email list that goes out to over 440 cyclists across the state. And we'll let you know as hearings come up or we need your support on this particular project.